What's up YouTube, and welcome back for another episode of Homebrew Subaru. I've been playing around with the RB again. When I got started testing the ECCS relay, I started to realize that there was a problem with the back feed somewhere, and when I started going through the harness, I realized that the way that the harness is wired doesn't seem to be identical to the way that the wiring diagram is. So I decided to snip a bunch of the wiring and actually wire it to the way I see the diagram wired. So I've got this main, the white and purple lead coming in with main battery power, and a bunch of the connections that were supposed to be before the relay constantly powered have been powered up. So main ECU power and fuel injector power supply. And I think that may have been my problem. I might not have had fuel injector power supply beforehand. Something else I've also done was I've gone to the neutral safety switch, or not, I guess the neutral switch. It's not actually the neutral safety switch, but this is the switch. So I tested it. It is broken, but testing it for continuity in neutral, it has continuity, so it's closed. And then when you put it into gear, it opens. And so this is the connector for it. And all it literally would have done was ground out that circuit, the neutral circuit, while it's in neutral. So just putting a little twist on the end of the wires here and jumping it will tell the ECU that the transmission's in neutral right now anyway. So just with those couple things, I decided I would prime the fuel again, which I did. And then I gave it a few cranks, and believe it or not, I started getting a little bit of puffing, so I just stopped. I decided I'd grab the camera, and we'll see if I crank it, will it actually start now. Well, it runs. That was fucking awesome. So yeah, surprisingly it actually fired right up, and the idle is definitely high, but not having a mass airflow, and I kind of looked for any vacuum leaks. I can't really find anything, so and then at the same time I only primed the fuel pump. I didn't actually have it running. So I think we're going to go for another startup just because I want to hear it run again, and probably you guys do too. So I don't know, that was kind of awesome. See, I really honestly didn't expect that to happen. I thought, it might cough and spit and try and start, but I didn't expect it to, just fire right up and run. The idle being too high it's like whatever. There's no mass airflow sensor on the car, and I'm not even sure if I've got all the vacuum lines plugged up. It sounds really good, like awesome. There's absolutely no noise in the engine whatsoever. It runs smooth. I'm just overall really impressed with the way that it does run, sitting on a rim and a tire hanging from an engine crane. So literally now just doing it in the car and getting it all fastened into the car and going through the harness to make sure everything is properly done. to me, in my own mind, a lot of the headache is already over with now. To go through and wire everything up later on. I've already got a really good understanding of how the harness is laid out and what needs to be what. And of course I'm going to probably make my own custom switch panel for it anyway, so that I can kill the ignition and fuel and whatever I want. So yeah, definitely a huge step forward. And now that I know I have a good running engine, I can kind of clean up this and make room for the car. I've already kind of got the welder and vacuum over there and really did a good job cleaning up this little spot right here. So at least I'll probably take off the transmission. I don't know if I can wheel the whole thing over here, maybe I will, but engine, transmission can kind of sit in this area right here, and it'll give me plenty of room to actually pull the car in. And then once the blue 240's inside, then I'll probably try and get the gold one into the driveway, and then once it's in the driveway I can start stripping it, because I'd like to probably get rid of that car sooner than later, sooner than me pulling the drivetrain out of the blue one, I think. Plus I want to get rid of that carpet and get it in the car, so that's probably going to be one of the first things. But so over the next night or two I'll probably get that over here and at least get the garage straightened up to enough to at least be ready to pull in the blue 240. And then when I'm actually doing this swap, I should have enough room in here to have the KA come out and kind of be pushed off to the side and hopefully wrestle the crane and dig the other motor out, the RB out, and turn it around so that I can get it back into the car. It's gonna be challenging, that's for sure. But you know, because the car's got to come in, I can't get the crane, obviously, or my place is too small to bring the crane around the car, so that drivetrain's got to be up here before I even start. So it's a couple days later, and I've managed to make some more progress with a lot of effort. I got the engine to sit up in there. It's going to be limited for space. So I mean, if I let that go, the crane will be able to sweep over here and get the engine out of the car. Hopefully pull back enough so that kind of take off the transmission, put it in the backyard, get rid of it right away, and then hopefully manage to sit the engine off to the side or closer to the bench, giving me enough room, hopefully, that I can still swing the crane around to get the RB engine, load the transmission onto it so that I can put it into the car. So in my own mind, this is going to happen like relatively easy, even though it's not going to. Just moving this thing around by myself, I mean, it's fine up on this floor. This floor is very, very flat, very well done, but this floor here has eroded quite a bit, and so a lot of the surface concrete is dusted away and it leaves it really rocky and rumbly. So just pulling that thing across this floor was very difficult. You know, I mean, you go over a zip tie and it'll stop your service jack, so you can imagine what it was like rolling that crane with that amount of weight on it, pulling it across a rumbly floor. So on another note, I did manage to get the 240 back inside. It wasn't starting, and I checked for spark. I had no spark. I went through a couple component tests that were in my manual, and I basically, the ignition control module failed, so I ordered one. I got a really cheap one online. I put it in the car, still no start. I went through it again. I checked for spark, which I had spark now, and when just getting a little bit frustrated testing stuff, I took a Noid light and put it in the fuel injector, and I wasn't getting any fuel injection. So I tested the circuit and I had power, but it wasn't pulsing ground from the ECU, so I just determined the ECU had bad ground because I've had trouble starting this thing. So I just I gave a good ground down to the block with the set of booster cables, and then I ran another ground from the battery over to the cylinder head. Boom, car fired right up. So got it inside. I was kind of planned to put the carpet in it, But I think best thing is, because it is inside now, is just not to screw around and start pulling out the KA and getting the RB ready to go in. At least if it gets to the point I can make the car drive in and out, it leaves my garage available to do other work. I would prefer it not being the dead of winter and not being able to use the garage for something else if I need to, especially if something happens with the Impreza, or if I'm driving the Forester again, something happens with it. A lot of work gets done in here, and I don't want this in here all winter long, so it needs to be drivable at some point, and the sooner I start on it, the better. And I'm just noticing, just because I reached over here to grab something and I felt this little bit of a web right here. I get these monster spiders in my backyard, and here's one of them right inside. So he's made a full-blown web going around here, expecting a fly to come across there. He just spotted me. But I don't like these guys in my garage. They can stay in the backyard all they like, but I think the dragonflies around here do a lot better job than the spiders do, because the spiders' webs are always empty. And so that guy's gonna have to go. I ended up getting the mass airflow sensor today, so I need to find a what appears to be a 4-pin connector, but I'm pretty sure that's the 5-pin connector minus 1 pin. I don't remember 4 wires being on the schematic, so maybe not all the circuits are used. I've kind of got to go over that. I also have the full SR exhaust here, but I'm not going to dig that out. I have it in the house. And then I went ahead and ordered, because I know my clutch slave on the KA transmission is leaking. This clutch slave on the RB transmission might be usable. I've noticed by the picture they're identical. Just so for the cost of it, I just decided I'd order a new master cylinder and slave cylinder. And then when I started looking for the braided line, it just seems like everyone's going with the ISR conversion line when you're doing an auto to 5-speed transmission swap. But I just like the idea of getting rid of any of those corroded lines that might be going down there. Just cut out the old clutch line and install the new braided line. So I've got all that stuff coming, and really coming up to the final bit of it is going to be more the intercooler. So I have like a generic intercooler kind of picked out with some piping just as a kit, and then I might need to custom fit it or cut it and modify it to make it work for me. I'm not quite sure yet. But other than all of that, I just want to remind everyone that there is a giveaway. I am giving away a 1080p action cam. This is going to be the last call out for the giveaway. So you guys have got probably 24 hours from when I post this video. That'll be the deadline to when you can actually enter. All you have to do is put down in the comment section, "Yo Homebrew, that's something I'd like to win." And if you're wondering about what the camera is all about, what it comes with, go back 2 episodes, and I think at the end of the episode I kind of show what the camera is and how to win. There is 17 or 18 entrants so far, so you've got pretty good odds of winning if you do enter. And then Sunday's video I'll actually do the draw and draw the winner. So don't worry about getting a hold of me. I'll get a hold of you in the comments somehow, and then we'll arrange by email or Instagram messaging or something like that to get a hold of one another, so I can send you the winning prize. And then just one more thing before I go. I came home today and there's like cops all up the street and down my street, and they are still here. So that's an undercover vehicle, and that's obviously a marked pickup truck for RCMP. And there's another car down the street there, and then all the way at the other end coming along the street that's along this forest line, there's a few more cars. So I expect that they're trying to find someone that's gotten themselves into a bit of trouble and decided to hide out in the forest. So yeah, always something going on at Homebrew. But if you like this video, definitely give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, please consider hitting that subscribe button for me. Leave your questions and comments further down below, and I'll see you in the next one.